Hi, welcome to Selfseeds Through the Eyes of the Horse. Today I am riding Squidward, and I believe this is part 3 in the Squidward development riding process. So I'll talk a little bit about the changes that are happening and what we're doing. So Squidward, we're starting out our usual long rein, walking around the outside of the arena, experiencing life, establishing a flexible, fluid body, and I call it more of an open top line. It's not being held together. What I'm trying to do is to encourage that he takes on the movement of walking through his entire body, that it's not just his legs walking, that his neck isn't rigidly attached, that everything is fluid. Oh, we have a little training obstacle coming up. They just parked the truck after pulling the drag behind it, and it's a little weird. It's making a lot of noise, and dogs are jumping up the back end of it, and humans are opening doors and coming out. So again, really supporting him in the ability to observe something different, something noisy, and he's offering, after he's assessing, to move forward, which I really like. Now he's going to follow the truck. Is that because he's going to be a really fancy hunter or jumper, he has to get so good at making split-second decisions about his environment and going forward in a really safe way, and in a bold way, and with the clarity in his own mind. So those moments for him to look at all that, go, okay, I know what that is, decide to go forward. Oh, wait a minute, what are they doing now? And then going forward, and then the ladder was there, which is new, and just all of it. So again, this is kind of the painstaking, behind-the-scenes training that sometimes when people buy more finished horses that are reliable in the show ring, they don't realize all of this process to enable that horse to be positive and confident. And then, of course, later on, when the horse becomes more confirmed, it's a schoolmaster type and gives the rider, who maybe isn't so sure, confidence. So in this situation, I'm not punishing him. I'm being firm. At this point of his training, I'm being firm that he has to at least assess everything, and then I give him an open door to always move forward towards the uncertainty. And I'm trying to let him have time and space to be able to come to that conclusion, because I'm layering in how his mind is working. So again, this may all seem a bit technical, but really, training horses isn't that much different than what I went through learning to be a ballroom dancer. Oh, so now I added a little obstacle. We had an extra obstacle. We have the narrow gate. He's a big horse. It's a narrow gate. And we had Starbucks, the mini there, acting like she might want to kick us. So just all these fun little obstacles that we deal with on a daily basis. This gate's a little bit wider. And then we go by, and then we change direction. Now, even when I'm walking and he's developing a rhythm through his body, and we're starting to create a partnership, it isn't, for me, partnering isn't just sitting on a horse and having the horse carry me somewhere. Partnering is when my timing and the horse's timing start to synchronize in the flow. It's kind of like an oscillation through both of our bodies, and that matches. And that's a lot more than just sitting on a horse and it's moving its feet, because to create that oscillation, the horse has to be flexible and fluid through its neck and its top line. Okay? Now we're moving on to trotting. Now again, same exercise as he's warming up, coughed a little bit, coughing, sorting out his breathing. And we'll trot along here, and again, he's taking in his environment. When they first trot off, they kind of forget they're wearing a human when they're young, and they go for their own resources. So part of what we're establishing is just, again, a timing between the two of us, which requires feel. A little obstacle. Dogs, human walking. That's an easy obstacle. That's a normal obstacle for this ranch. Oops, a little trip there. No big deal. Again, so what's happening by part 3 is that when he goes to trot off, he's a lot straighter through his spine, and he's a lot more integrated in terms of how he's pushing his body from behind. If you had looked at him 6 months ago, well, of course, even a month ago, because he was out in the field, but even the time he had in the field while I was in Colorado, Portugal, Hungary, and India, he was just growing up, being out in that big field, cantering up and down. He started to get more muscle, and then even now, just riding in 5 weeks since I've been back, he's getting stronger. But if you looked at his hindquarters, you could see how this horse would have a hard time pushing himself anywhere and not wanting to just pull himself, because it's a big horse and he needs power from behind. So this takes time. He's going to be such a fun, awesome horse, but like a basketball player, I'm sure those big, tall guys, they're amazing and awesome, but it takes time to grow into their bodies. And then part of it is, too, that a big part for me when a horse is trotting properly is the horse is carrying me. And what does that mean when I say the horse is carrying me? It means the horse is taking me somewhere. It isn't just barely moving and taking me somewhere. It feels like it's taking me somewhere from the middle of my inside of my body. So for me, when you read in all the textbooks about the horse being in front of the leg, I think about the horse really almost being in front of the seat. Now, it doesn't mean he's running off with me. I'm not chasing him somewhere. But there's a very, very distinct feeling. Oh, I'm going to go for the trot through the gate. This is a little crazy. There we go. Is that the horse is literally more like a shopping cart in front of me, taking me somewhere. And so right now I'm going to do a little work in the arena, just a little bit. Throw it in, a few circles. I haven't been circling him for a while. So again, another space, different footing. Now we're going to come up to the ladder with the ladder on the outside, which is different. And so again, he's just assessing everything, different environment, being very steady in the rhythm. Because he's going to eventually jump over things, I'm going to start over this tree stump that I found the other day that I brought in here. I'm not a jumper trainer, but all this stuff that you see in the arena, I just think of it like obstacles, and I will ride the horses all over these obstacles, preparing them to be rhythmical, steady, confident, how to, again, carry me over the jump, not me run the horse at the jump, but he has enough inner balance, mobility, and timing to carry himself and to carry me. So what changes is, then when they take on these obstacles, they're taking them on from such a different orientation in their body that they can then develop at a higher level in their mechanics of jumping, which is critical for jumping. Now, even though I don't jump officially, I have done enough jumping in my path, on my path and in my past, that I know horses have to carry themselves in a certain positive way so they can mentally be confident and physically be able to make decisions, adjustments in their stride, in their time of takeoff, all these things, because if I get in there and start messing with any of that decision making over the jumps, other than getting the horse to the jump in the highest quality, is that it's the horse's job at that point when it is approaching the jump, jumping and landing. That's me just staying balanced and following. My job is to get the horse to the obstacle in a good way and then land and reconnect to riding to the next obstacle. So even though I'm more of a dressage rider, I know this in terms of function. As a kid, I grew up riding hundreds of miles long distance, and you start to see how the physics of the horse going up and down hills, navigating rocks and ravines and banks and all that. There's a real physics that's real practical for the horse. And I see how that applies to the jumping. Okay. Hope he was a little surprised that I was heading out the gate at the trot. It's the first time he tries the trotting. It's a little weird angle because of the way the shed is and all that. So here we go. Back to the trot. I was happy with the work in the arena. Stayed happy, looking at everything, fine, rhythmical. The feel of the horse inside and outside the arena, it's critical for me that it stays the same, that his responsiveness, his availability, his willingness to observe, listen to me. Now, not everybody has a crossing of mini burros in front of them while they're training. This is the stuff. That's Elvis on the right. He's the father of Pebbles, the baby mini burro. This is the stuff I so have fun at this polo ranch, is all this stuff happening. And again, I feel like I'm almost riding in a cartoon because these really funny things happen and show up. And earlier in the video, you probably couldn't see it, there was a mini standing in a wheelbarrow that was turned up, and it looked like a mini loading itself into a wheelbarrow. And you know, the horse is noticing all this, and you just have to pet them and tell them they're good, and on they go. Now, what's interesting is Squidward gets a little bit confident. He's sort of, you know, sometimes he wants to chase the little minis a little bit, or he'll get after the dogs. So it's his way of interacting with what's going on as his confidence builds up. He's not worried about himself as much. And so these are little clues to look at how he's taking on the environment and interacting with it and making decisions. He's a playful guy out in the field. So I'm not surprised that he's kind of playing with whatever is showing up in his environment as well. Oh, it's fun. Oh, here we go. Mini burro crossing again. They're loading hay on the left. I don't know if you can see that. They're loading hay, and so the bales are getting thrown down and people are talking. So another great obstacle, life obstacle. The truck always is shifting around. Alrighty. So now we're going to go ahead and head down the driveway for the first time at the trot. I've walked him down the driveway. I've walked him out the gate and hand down the road even. So again, all steps of preparation so that he can have success, even this little bit of change in his routine that now we're trotting down the road. So one of the things he's doing is I'm having to work a little bit to keep his body lined up behind his neck because he's wanting to fall a little bit to the left, which is his pattern. So, of course, because of the tension, the newness, that pattern shows up a little bit, but it's going well. I'm able to start talking more from the inside of his body, and so it shows a huge progress in our conversation. So now we're going to go ahead and walk and go ahead and head back to the barn.